Today is the first day of filming for the scene at Laba. Sung Hyun shouted loudly, "Wait, are you just going to walk away like that, Han Hae-ju?" The beautiful woman who turned back was Song Jina. In this movie, she plays the female lead. The two of them stood there for a moment, looking at each other. Then the director called out, "Cut. All right, change the scene and let's do it again." Everyone on the set was talking about the two main actors, saying they really acted well. Sura, lost in the crowd, was also very surprised. She thought to herself, what a difference. The voice of her assistant interrupted her thoughts. "Sura, let's go." "Yes, coming." The two sisters were walking down the street, Kyung talking to her, "The weather is so nice today." Sura also enjoyed the warm weather, looking forward to working more with Sung Hyun, but it seemed that he was always on Team A while she was on Team B. So, each movie had different. In a place with luxurious golden lighting, Sura was wearing an outfit not quite suitable for the weather, making her exclaim, "This dress is beautiful, but wearing a winter outfit outside in such heat is..." She left the sentence unfinished. A short-haired girl looked at her, stammering, "Sister, is it too difficult? Let me fan you." Sura gave a polite smile and refused, "Thank you, Mina, but it would be harder for you since you'd have to fix my makeup from all the sweating." Mina, amused, smiled brightly, "That's my job. No matter what you wear, you still look beautiful. Working with you makes me happy." Hearing such sincere words, Sura couldn't help but feel touched, her eyes sparkling as she looked at the young girl in front of her. Sura jumped to hug Mina, exclaiming, "You adorable girl." The young girl hugged back, teasing, "The makeup is going to fall off now." Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted their conversation. "May I come in?" Sura called out, "Yes, come in." A young man appeared, dressed similarly in a winter outfit. He raised his hand in greeting, "Senior." Sura cheerfully greeted back, "Hello. It's hot today, isn't it?" Kong Lee, feeling like he'd found an ally, quickly took off his thick coat and complained, "I can't breathe in this. The outdoor shoot today is so hot," he said with frustration, expressing his determination. "Should we fight the author on this, sister?" Sura smiled helplessly, "All right." At that moment, a crew member from the film team arrived to announce, "The scene with you and Junsu will start soon. Get ready." These are the names of the characters that the female lead and Kong Lee play in this film. Team B has been filming for a week already, and thanks to Kong Lee's friendliness, the shooting has been easy to integrate. The two also act very well together. For Sura, everything is going smoothly except for one thing. She texts Sung Hyun but doesn't receive any response. Sura looks at her phone without any reply, showing obvious disappointment. Noticing her distress, Jin Kyung and Mina try to console her, making excuses for the situation. "The scenes in Yam-ma are different, and, right, the release date has been postponed, so don't worry too much. Try this, it's delicious." They try to cheer Sura up, but she doesn't seem to pay much attention to them. She was utterly disappointed. "No matter how busy we are, can't we meet for 5 minutes? If it's true love, those 5 minutes would be so precious," she thought. Thinking about it now only made her more frustrated, and she slammed her hand on the table in exasperation. Not even 5 minutes. Not even a single moment. The two people with her saw her frustration and didn't dare to bother her anymore, retreating to a corner to chat. Sura lay slumped over the table, feeling sad. Are we, Money Boy and I, gradually drifting apart? But on the other side, Sung Hyun was also quite exhausted, lying back in the car, looking just as disheartened. His assistant, who was sitting behind him, reminded him to take a nap, saying, "You haven't slept for days." Seyun Hyun agreed. He opened his phone to read Sura's messages. "Money Boy, I think I can go see Team A at work. Can I meet you for a bit?" "Money Boy, I'm at the filming site. Why don't you have any failed takes? I need to take pictures, keep it up." These words of encouragement, sent long ago, without any reply, made him feel guilty. Seyun Hyun started to type a message, "Sorry, I've been filming non-stop." But before he could send it, a call came in from Wang Su. Seyun Hyun answered, hearing the concern in the voice on the other end. "Hey Kong Seyun Hyun, are you managing all right? No time to even breathe?" Hyun responded helplessly, "Stop watching the drama, that's not my style at all." Wang Su comforted, all right, by the way, I have an announcement. Anyway, I want to talk about the contract. I've already informed them that you want to extend it for another 3 years. I hope you'll decide soon. But is it okay for you to agree without knowing anything about it? You haven't been in touch with anyone for a year or two. Se-Yun Hien tiredly responded, yes, just go ahead. Wang Su continued to encourage, okay. I understand, just keep working hard. Do you know that Sura's birthday is coming up? This statement made Sung suddenly alert, and he quickly asked, it's coming up? Wang Su added, she hasn't been able to organize anything because she's busy filming. How about you send her a gift? You don't have time, so I'll buy it for you, okay? Sung Hien refused, saying that it wouldn't be sincere. Wang Su asked, so what do you plan to do? Sung Hien suddenly didn't know how to respond. His assistant quietly called him while holding the schedule book. After a long wait without an answer, the person on the other end asked anxiously, buy it online? Shouldn't you pick it out in person? Sung Hien stared at the schedule book, calculating his timeline, and with a slight smile, he replied, no, I'll do it myself. The next day, a crowd gathered in front of a shopping mall. Someone curiously asked, what's going on? Why are so many people gathered here? A girl who had been eavesdropping turned and replied, it seems they're filming a new movie, Kong Se-Yun Hien and Song Jina. The director shouted, cut. Take a break and get ready to resume in an hour. Just that announcement made everyone happy. Song Jina cheerfully called out to Sung, eat with me, okay? Come on. Before she could finish her sentence, Sung hurriedly walked away. Seeing his rushed demeanor, she felt disappointed for a few minutes. Then, Gina went to find the manager and asked, where did Kong Se-Yun Hien go in such a hurry? The young guy felt shy when the beautiful woman started a conversation with him. He confessed that he was shopping for his girlfriend. Gina was surprised, and the manager suddenly realized he had misspoken and hurriedly slapped his mouth a few times to punish himself for having a mouth faster than his brain. The curious Gina wanted to know who this girlfriend was. The polite sales clerk greeted the customer and asked what he was looking for, which made Sung Hien a bit embarrassed. He looked down and avoided eye contact, saying, I'm not looking for anything special. The girls around also recognized this handsome guy as Kong Sung Hien. Quite flustered, he had planned to shop during lunch, but now that he was there, he didn't know what to buy. He looked around and everything seemed to suit Sura perfectly. A woman's voice interrupted his thoughts, this is so beautiful. Gina bent over to look at some jewelry, showering them with compliments, oh my, this one is beautiful too, looks so luxurious. Hien, isn't it beautiful? Should I try it on? She kept gushing, but it's so expensive. Her words startled not only him but also the sales clerk. Realizing people were watching, Gina stopped and cheerfully explained, oh, it's our 5-year anniversary. The director asked if I wanted a gift, so I answered quickly. Sung Hien found himself in a tough spot, and before he could speak, she cut him off, you know, right? Sung Hien is the director of our company. He reminded her, Gina. But she pretended not to hear, still fixated on the jewelry, moving closer as if they were very close. Hey, this one is beautiful. Oh, right, she whispered, if you don't go along, I'll be so embarrassed, and not just me, what about you? And the film, before it airs, let's not let bad news spread, okay? Seeing her point, Sung Hien said nothing more. Seeing that she had the upper hand, Gina continued with her game, excitedly telling the saleswoman. Ma'am, let me see this one. I want this one too, the design is so cute. Sung Hien, distressed, ran his hands through his hair, I'm going crazy. As soon as they returned to the film crew, Gina bowed her head apologetically with a very earnest attitude. I went too far. Seeing the girl bowing before him, Sung didn't understand what had just happened. At this moment, at the film factory, Gina explained. The manager told me that you went to buy a gift for your girlfriend. If you planned to buy it yourself, you should have told me. If your girlfriend's identity is exposed, it will be a big issue. Before the film is released, if rumors of dating spread, the work will be ruined. I also want to help you because I worry that you might feel uncomfortable with the gaze of others, so you couldn't buy it comfortably. I really wanted to help you. I'm sorry for not asking you first. Se-Hyun pondered deeply. I don't know if she's truly sincere. I can't get angry, I'm not sure. Gina suddenly put on a sorrowful face, which startled Sung-Hyun a bit. He asked, why are you crying? Gina bowed her head, hiding her tearful eyes, and replied, I'm really sorry. Sung couldn't hold back in the face of a girl's tears. He reached out, grabbed a tissue, and handed it to Gina, comforting her, all right, don't cry anymore. She took it immediately. After a while, seeing that she had stopped crying, Sung continued, anyway, I appreciate your help. But if something like this happens again, don't act like that. If it happens again, I won't be so forgiving. Gina hurriedly responded, yes. With that, Sung-Hyun turned to leave, not forgetting to tell her to wipe her tears. Gina grabbed his sleeve, stopping him, her face beaming as she said, does that mean you forgive me, right? Sung-Hyun, feeling helpless, had no words left to say. Without another word, he left, ignoring her joyous exclamation, I knew you'd be like this. Thank you. At this moment, worry appeared on Sung's face. His intuition about this woman was not good, and he pondered how to handle the situation with Sura. Over at filming Team B, a large table of sweets was laid out, looking delicious and enticing. Sura excitedly exclaimed, is this from the fans? Your fans are amazing, Kong Lee. Kong smiled brightly, feeling very proud of his fans, that's right, my fans are awesome. Sura took a bite and almost praised, wow, it's delicious. Kong replied, you've already said it. They continued to compliment everything they could. Kyung, outside their conversation, also felt excited about their story. Kong Lee took out his phone to take photos and posted them on his social media profile. Sura supported this and took the opportunity to ask Kong Lee to thank the fans. Suddenly, Kong Lee stopped, looking surprised. Sura, unaware of what he had read, cheerfully asked, what's up, Kong? Did you read some surprising news? Kong was shocked because Team A's news had been leaked, involving Kong Se-Hyun and Gina. Sura's smile suddenly froze, she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Jin Kyung hurriedly interrupted, what are you talking about? Give me your phone. Seeing the unusual behavior, Kong Lee timidly handed it over, here it is, it's all over the internet now. Mina comforted Sura to calm her down. But what caught her eye was the headline of the news article, Kong Sung-Hyun and Gina's romantic outing at the mall. Above it was a picture of the two in a jewelry store, and below were numerous positive comments. Is this to promote a movie? Are they dating? How admirable! Sister! Sura cried out, looking at the scene before her. She was stunned, unable to believe what she was seeing, but she had no choice but to accept it. Kyung cheerfully announced, Sura, I'm so happy. Finally, the script for my project with Se-Hyun Kong is ready. Filming will start tomorrow. You know how quickly the script came together, right? Contrary to the manager's joyful demeanor, Sura sat silently like a statue, her heart icy cold. Jin Kyung sat down beside her to console her, don't think too much. The headline is a gift for the 5th anniversary of Song Gina's debut. I've also heard that Sung-Hyun Kong was talking to the manager on the phone. Recalling the manager's words from earlier, she continued, he mentioned he was filming, so if it's about the newspaper, you don't have to worry. Oh, the assistant director is waiting for me. I'll go now. Before Sura could react, the call was ended abruptly, leaving her feeling despondent. The call only added to her confusion, she thought he would explain, but the sudden hang-up made the situation even stranger. Jin Kyung quickly tried to defend the male lead, you know this is the filming location for Team A at the mall, and startup companies can send gifts to the actors. Don't worry too much. Sura, still in her role as the actor's manager, questioned, is it normal for both of them to buy a necklace? Can they do that separately? Sura's questioning made Jin Kyung break out in a cold sweat, she couldn't find any more excuses for Hyun. Feeling trapped, Kyung swiftly changed the subject, I don't know. Anyway, you'll see him tomorrow. Just ask him then. You've said enough. Let's go. She then led Mina out of the room, leaving Sura alone to contemplate. Jin Kyung quickly tried to defend the male lead. You know this is the filming location for Team A at the mall, and startup companies can send gifts to the actors. Don't worry too much. Alone with her doubts and sadness, Sura opened her phone and looked at the article, unable to help but marvel at how beautiful the picture looked. Anger surged within her as she pointed at the handsome face in the image and muttered, useless. At the mall where the film crew was shooting, a woman's loud voice made the crowd turn to see who it was, causing annoyance and frustration. How embarrassing! I boasted to my friends that I'd land the lead role in that series, and now I've been fired. What am I going to say? The person who just spoke was Mi Yang, Cheong-goo's wife. She was walking and cursing because her husband lost his role in the film. Cheong-gu could only comfort her with a few words to get through the situation. Mi Yang, I'm not fired. The director suddenly wanted to change the direction of the film, so he decided to drop that script. I don't know what to do either, but I know you'll still be sad. And I'll be sad if you keep acting like this, won't I? Mi Yang turned, her eyes sharp as she looked at her husband and exclaimed, Cheong-gu. He stood there, watching his wife rambling endlessly. She said it was because she was just too long-winded and full of bitterness. In his exhaustion, for some reason, Cheong-gu's mind conjured up an image of Sura, who had once called out his name. But in his memory, Sura gently held his hand, placed her hand on his cheek, and encouraged him, Cheong-gu, it's okay. It's just bad luck this time. Her smile brought warmth and light, urging him to try harder. Strangely, Cheong-gu's voice, in reality, felt heavy, jolting him out of the daydream, much like a mirage of a puddle of water in the desert suddenly dissipating. Seeing her husband standing still, his wife grew annoyed. What are you doing, Cheong-gu? She shouted. Cheong-gu quickly responded, let's go. Trying to dodge her questions, he wondered why today his mind was filled with random thoughts, almost making him lose his temper. In a luxurious designer store, the salesperson was enthusiastically praising how well the items suited the customer. The satisfied woman, feeling beautiful as she looked at herself in the mirror, decided to purchase the luxury item without hesitation. Cheong-gu, not paying much attention, casually tapped on his phone repeatedly. However, he suddenly noticed something odd in the newsfeed. He was momentarily surprised to see the dating news about Kang Sung-hyun and Song Jina. Reading the article in front of him left Cheong-gu bewildered. Wasn't he dating Wang Sura? There must be something that caused them to break up. Cheong-gu pondered and found it reasonable because Kang Seun-hyun could never be serious about Sura. He secretly rejoiced, feeling that this was another chance given to him by fate. Meanwhile, Sura was still stuck in her disappointment, evidenced by her plate filled only with fried gimbap. Kyung noticed the unbalanced meal and intervened, wait a minute, Sura, what kind of food selection is that? Snapping back to reality, Sura lamented, what am I doing, taking only one type of food? Kyung, frustrated with her dazed state, scolded her, snap out of it. Thanks to Seun-hyun's fans, we get to enjoy this free buffet at the hotel, and you're only eating fried gimbap? Why? Sitting at the table, Sura couldn't swallow her food. I'm so sad I don't know how to eat, she said, her slightly odd statement worrying Kyung. What? Is this about the necklace? Sung-hyun has already sent a message to clarify. Remembering the long message from him, Sura felt helpless. How could she use it to explain? The message read, it's a bit hard to talk on the phone. You saw the article, right? Don't worry, it's nothing. There's nothing to misunderstand. We have a shoot tomorrow, see you then. Kyung was at a loss for words, unable to defend the male lead any longer, and offered some advice, anyway, you two should meet and talk. How can you work together with things like this? Reflecting on it, Sura realized that the shoot with her senior was a moment she had eagerly awaited for a long time, but she hadn't expected to face such emotions. Suddenly, something startled Sura, her pupils dilating as if something bad had happened. It was Song Jina approaching, holding a plate of food and excitedly heading towards Sura. Hi there! It's been a while, hasn't it? How are you? Song Jina greeted cheerfully, not noticing the uneasy expressions on both Sura and Kyung's faces. This is the first time we've met since the script reading, right? Song Jina placed her plate of food on the table and casually pulled up a chair to sit down. Sura felt extremely awkward watching her actions and wondered why she chose to sit right next to her. Feeling embarrassed, Sura responded, I guess so. Suddenly, Song Jina waved at someone. Curiously, Sura followed her gaze and recognized that it was Senior Sung Hyun. She thought to herself, what kind of expression is he going to have now? Sung Hyun smiled, seemingly contemplating something, which made Sura feel puzzled. He quickly approached her and said, when did you get here? Sura, not interested in engaging, replied coldly, just got here. Clearly annoyed, she focused on eating as much food as possible to avoid talking to him. In no time, she had stuffed herself with all the food on her plate. Noticing her unusual behavior, Sung Hyun expressed concern, you'll have indigestion if you eat so quickly. Why are you eating so fast? She curtly responded, because I'm hungry. Jina then chimed in, it looks like Sura is really hungry, but reminded her, if you get indigestion, it will affect the shoot, so try to eat more slowly. Seeing Jina's sincere attitude, Sura was momentarily taken aback. That's right, she thought, I don't know what this situation is. Song Jina hasn't done anything wrong, so there's no need to dislike her. I shouldn't be so mean. Just as Sura began to think better of Jina, Jina moved closer to Sung Hyun, try this, it's delicious. Although Sung Hyun didn't seem to like it, he couldn't do much about it. As the server walked by with a tray, Jina gently asked, hey, do you think if I have a drink, it will disrupt the shoot later? And about scene C-17, don't you think it has too much dialogue? She continued to chatter away, even though Sung Hyun didn't respond to any of her questions. Meanwhile, Sura just wanted to change seats and get away from the situation. At that moment, Kong Lee appeared with his usual cheerful demeanor, just in time to rescue her from the awkwardness. Jina. Long time no see, he greeted warmly. Long time no see. Jina responded, equally friendly. Kong Lee, however, didn't sit down. Instead, he hesitated, then turned and said, too bad, there's no room here. I'll eat over there. Enjoy your meal, everyone. Sura quickly called out, hey, Kong Lee, wait. She stood up abruptly and suggested, I'll go with you. Surprised by her senior's words, Kong Lee felt a mix of astonishment and joy, sure. Sura coldly responded, of course, everyone here is from Team A, so I feel a bit out of place. Jin Kyung was shocked by her bluntness. Hearing this, Kong Lee was moved to tears, exclaiming, "You is the best." Sura smiled and added, "Who else but you can take care of Junsu so well?" The male lead, listening to their conversation, felt his irritation grow, though he said nothing. Kong Lee thanked Sura, then explained, "There's no more room at the Team B table, so I didn't know what to do." Hearing this made Sura feel a pang of sympathy. "Don't say that. Even if you don't know what to do, you still need to eat properly," she said. Kong Lee, with eyes full of gratitude, looked at his senior. His face was bright and cheerful, and he responded, "I'm truly touched." Sura felt guilty, knowing she had only used this situation to change seats, not expecting Kong Lee to be so grateful. The young man, flustered, apologized, "Sister, I'm sorry." He offered to get drinks, and Sura agreed, reminding him to return quickly. Suddenly, a notification sounded from the phone on the table. Sura glanced at it skeptically and guessed correctly, the message was from Sung Hyun. She leaned forward, popped a piece of gimbap into her mouth, pretending not to notice the message. But human curiosity got the better of her, and she eventually picked up the phone and opened it. He had written, "What's wrong? Why aren't you sitting here?" Disappointed by his obliviousness, Sura felt her anger rising. She immediately started typing a furious reply, pressing the keys so hard that, if the phone could speak, it would cry out in pain. The content of Sura's reply was, "Kong Lee would be very confused if I left him sitting alone, but Gina is there, and you're more comfortable with Team A anyway." Sung Hyun, bending over and secretly texting her back, "That's not it. It's been 10 days since we last met, but you didn't even look at me and changed seats?" Sura wanted to end the conversation, "All right, just eat." Sung Hyun, worried, "Are you angry? Come back." This made Sura furious, "Are you trying to provoke me? If I go back, will there be a seat for Kong Li? Her anger peaked, and she muttered a curse under her breath. Just then, Kong Li returned, hearing the unkind words from the angelic Sura, and he was shocked. What's wrong, sister? Sura, startled and embarrassed, quickly found an excuse to leave. Sorry, my stomach isn't feeling well. I need to go to the bathroom. She bolted out of the restaurant, her face showing her simmering rage, ready to devour anyone who dared to upset her further. But who should be angry here? I'm going crazy, she sighed. Do you think I haven't come back for lunch yet? Sung's loud call startled Sura. The waitresses at that moment were overwhelmed by Sung Hyun's stunning handsomeness. Sura hesitated, then turned around and asked, What's the matter, Senior Seyun Hyun? This formal way of addressing made the male lead uneasy. Kong Seyun Hyun slowly approached, announcing that they had a scene to shoot together this afternoon. He leaned in close and whispered, Shall we go to the rehearsal room for a bit? In the rehearsal room, Sung Hyun earnestly confronted and pleaded with Sura to tell him what had happened. Sura looked at him seriously, outwardly asking, What do you mean? But inwardly cursing, You really don't know, huh? Seyun Hyun got straight to the point, You have a reason for avoiding me and changing your seat, don't you? Sura looked down and denied it. I already told you, Kong Li doesn't know anyone in Team A, so he would be confused if he sat with them. He questioned irritably, You mean you changed your seat because you were worried about him? Sura couldn't hold back anymore. The frustrations of the past few weeks poured out, but also because you gave gifts to others, why don't I have the right to take care of him? Sung silently marveled at what she had just said. Although he was quite tired of this girl, being a true gentleman, he chose to endure. He meditated with great effort for a moment, then spoke up, So you did it for that reason? I told you, don't pay attention to it. There's no misunderstanding. Sura sarcastically replied, You didn't mean to? She looked straight into his eyes, resolutely launching into a tirade of accusations about the scandal at the jewelry store, her voice full of bitterness. Seeing her attitude, Sung was stunned and frightened. He hurriedly explained, You misunderstood. Do you suspect me and Song Jina? Sura calmly responded, It's not about suspicion. I just don't understand why you bought an expensive necklace for an actress you've known for less than a month. Seeing the situation escalating, Seyun Hyun scratched his head, unsure how to resolve it. He hesitated to tell the truth, knowing it would be hard to believe. After pondering for a while, he came up with a convincing answer, It's because I have my own reasons. But such a meaningless explanation couldn't soothe Sura at this moment. She frankly said, Then in the case. She intended to say more, but seeing his troubled face, she fell silent. Finally, Sura continued, Then I am just like you, would you be bothered? Sung Hyun looked at her, his eyes confused, not knowing what to say. He just stood up and walked toward the window, not brave enough to face her. Both carried a mix of emotions, one had been hurt and was therefore skeptical of everything, while the other couldn't vindicate himself. Sura sat quietly on the sofa, her head bowed, seemingly very disappointed with today's conversation. Seyun Hyun was no better off, hesitating for a long while. Finally, he turned around and said, You can't trust me? This critical question left her a bit confused. Sura raised her head and firmly replied, It's not that I don't trust you. A response that left Sung at a loss for words. Looking at his girl sitting motionless, the disappointment evident on her beautiful face, he couldn't bear to hide anything from her. After all, everything would be revealed on her birthday, and he thought it would be a small happiness for her. But did that hurt her so much? Moreover, he didn't know if he could be happy if this atmosphere continued until her birthday. All right, Sung Hyun decided to tell her everything. But just as he was about to speak, Sura's phone suddenly rang incessantly. What perfect timing! Sura answered, Yes, Kong. She answered hurriedly, Oh, I forgot. What should I do? I'm sorry. Hearing the caller was Kong Li, Sung felt displeased, swallowing his explanation. Meanwhile, Sura calmly continued her conversation with Kong Li, Oh no, I'm free. Let's meet and talk. I'll be there soon. They even exchanged phone numbers. Sura couldn't remember when she had given him her number. She politely stood up and excused herself. I forgot that I told him I would go to the restroom for a moment. So, I'm leaving now. Se-Hyun was about to lose his mind and immediately stopped her from leaving. Sura reflexively stood still, full of anticipation, but the male lead seemed unsure of what to do next. They stood like that for about a minute before losing patience. Finally, he spoke up. We're not done yet, Sura. Standing still wasn't a solution. She wearily said her final words and walked away. Sung, bewildered, didn't understand what was happening as Sura opened the door to leave. Sung, confused, chased after her. He quickly walked towards her, grabbed her shoulder, and asked, "Did you hear me tell you to stop?" Sura turned around, tears streaming down her cheeks. Sung, taken aback, hadn't expected this situation and was quite flustered. Sura brushed his hand away. I don't want to argue anymore. That's why I've been avoiding you. Let me go. With that, she left, leaving him alone in the large room with an empty heart. The battle ended with both sides losing. Sung-Hyun, feeling innocent yet guilty, pondered over what had just happened. Wow, it's been 10 days since we last met and now what am I doing? Suddenly, he noticed something, a script lying neatly on the chair where Sura had been sitting. Se-Hyun mused. She said she wanted to rehearse, and even brought the script. He stood up, walked to the sofa, and picked up the script, the lines appearing before his eyes. People often do crazy things. Speaking of Sura, after leaving the room, she leaned wearily against the elevator wall. Looking at her sad face in the mirror and seeing her unwell appearance, Sura worried, what should I do? I can't let Kong see me like this. At that moment, her phone chimed with a message. She quickly checked her phone, and it was a message from Jin Kyung. I think you need to talk with Se-Hyun longer. I told Kong that you're not feeling well, so he's waiting in the room. Don't worry, just talk with him. Receiving such sweet and caring words, Sura felt deeply touched and suddenly felt guilty towards Jin Kyung and Kong. I can't be embarrassed in front of everyone. The elevator reached the 9th floor, and Sura stepped out. As she walked, she thought about her situation with Sung, thinking to herself, it's not that I don't trust him. I know he probably doesn't want to talk much longer either. Sura wearily opened the door to her room and sat down on the chair, exhausted. Recalling what she had gone through, she silently lamented, he knows full well there's a reason I'm so sensitive, but he just stays silent. It's really sad, he's so thoughtless. At this point, Sura completely lost control, tears streaming down her small, pretty face. A few minutes later, a knock on the door startled her awake. She looked towards the door, surprised. Who could it be? Sura stood up abruptly, a flicker of hope igniting in her heart. Could it be him? She quickly ran to open the door, full of hope, but as soon as she saw the person outside, she felt a wave of disappointment. She stood still, greeting, what's wrong, Kong? Kong asked worriedly. Sura quickly denied, I'm fine. I was planning to go to the buffet, but suddenly felt unwell. I'm sorry. Kong quickly responded, why are you apologizing? You're sick. He paused, observing her closely, and noticed something unusual on her face. He asked, have you been crying? Caught off guard, she tried to avoid the question, huh? No, I haven't been crying. Kong sensed something was wrong, his concern raising his voice a notch, I know you were crying. If you're sick to the point of tears, it must be serious. Should we go to the hospital? Seeing his exaggerated reaction, Sura quickly waved her hands to refuse, oh no, no. It's not that bad. Resting will make me feel better. Kong continued suggesting, how about I give you a massage? I'm really good at it. He looked serious, but Sura turned pale with fear, I'm fine. The young boy was determined to show off his massage skills to his senior, but Sura quickly refused, it's not that I don't trust you, Kong. She couldn't think of a good reason to refuse, and stood there frozen, scared by Kang's words, feeling like she was about to be acupunctured. Helpless, she had no choice but to let Kong proceed. The boy cheerfully led her into the rest area, chattering away, come on, don't worry. When my family has indigestion, I give them massages too. The heroine's spirit was deeply depressed, but Kong still smiled brightly, all right, I have some digestive medicine. I'll get it for you. Sura thanked him anxiously. As the door slowly closed, someone had been watching the entire conversation from outside. Se-yoon Hyun stood motionless, staring at that room. Jin Kyung and Mina were excited after eating their fill, so delicious. This hotel's buffet is really something. I think I didn't have enough dessert. Suddenly, Jin Kyung noticed someone blocking their way and looked up to see who it was. She warmly greeted, Se-yoon Hyun, did you talk to Sura? She hasn't eaten enough, I'm worried about her. He hesitated, unable to form a sentence, and handed the script to Jin Kyung, asking her to take it to Sura. Without any suspicion, Jin Kyung happily accepted. Before she could ask why he didn't deliver it directly, Sung Hyun had already turned away. Seeing his state, Jin Kyung sensed something bad had happened. The elevator door closed with a bang, leaving the two girls standing bewildered. The atmosphere is so strange, right? Seems like it, huh? Se-yoon Hyun leaned against the elevator wall, deep in thought. No doubt, no misunderstanding, not that I don't trust Sura, that's not right. He gave a bitter smile, the sadness apparent in the solitude. Some wondered, what kind of mood is this? Time passed, and the film crew continued their work. Se-yoon Hyun was getting a touch-up on his makeup, chatting happily with the makeup artist. Sura watched from afar, muttering, just as I thought, too perfect. She shook her head, feels like jealousy, right, perfect. Looks so natural, I don't mean anything by it. At this moment, Kong approached her, waving, hey, how's your stomach feeling? Kong nodded, yeah, thanks to you. He pointed at himself with a proud expression and a pleased smile, believing in you was the right choice, huh? You said your skills were pretty good. Seeing Kong so happy, she nodded in encouragement. Sura quickly changed the subject, Kong, are you heading to the next location now? He responded eagerly, yes, but I still have some time, so I thought I'd stop by the filming location to greet our senior a bit. She was surprised, how do you know when the filming is done? Kong laughed, saying that Se-yoon Hyun was not an ordinary person, so if possible, he should go first. Interrupting himself, Kong suddenly noticed something on her face. He pointed out, your forehead is sweating. She startled, raising her hand to wipe the sweat, but Kong quickly grabbed a towel to help, comforting her, it's hot lately, and wearing warm clothes for the winter scenes doesn't help. Sura couldn't avoid it, trying to refuse the assistance as she was already in the middle of makeup. However, with a loud noise from Sung Hyun's table, everyone's attention shifted. He slammed his hand on the table, startling both her and the makeup artist. Concerned, the makeup artist asked what happened, and Sung Hyun calmly apologized, leaving Sura on the other side looking worried as she watched them leave. Kong just raised his voice, asking Se-yoon Hyun, Kong, seems like you're not feeling well because of that article, huh? Sura looked at him with a shy expression. Finally, it was time for the scene of the male lead and female lead. The director was giving instructions, all right, let me explain the movements. Both of you will hold hands and walk around the marked area, then start your lines, okay? Once the preparations were done, Sura and Sung took their positions. She held his hand, and when the director called action, Sung teasingly remarked on her tense posture, saying it was like a bride entering the wedding hall. His comment made her blush with embarrassment, and she angrily pulled him closer, retorting, I intended to hold your hand. Seems like you're in a hurry. Seeing her reaction, Sung chuckled mischievously, apparently enjoying teasing her. After the director's call of action, all their conflicts from earlier had to be set aside. Wasn't it ironic that after arguing, they had to perform an intimate scene? Sura worried she couldn't focus on acting, while the film crew was excited to see the performance. She watched Se-yoon Hyun attentively, not mentioning his excellent acting skills but acknowledging his ability to lead his co-stars into their roles better. Despite feeling a bit annoyed, she still respected him as an actor. Finally, when the director called cut, her mind returned to reality, all right. If we keep going like this, we'll finish early today. Let's take a break and then continue filming. Sura felt relieved, thinking she had performed well, but Sung spoke up, questioning, wait, director. I don't feel quite right. Can we redo our lines? His words caught her off guard. What's wrong? The director asked, puzzled. Everything seems perfect, doesn't it? While silently agreeing with Sung, Sura hadn't had time to rejoice before he added, sure, let's redo it if you want. Sung quickly achieved his goal, and Sura was left bewildered, wondering what he had noticed that others hadn't. Could it be they didn't look good together while walking side by side? She resolved to try harder and cooperate in reshooting the scene. But it was strange, Sung kept insisting on reshooting it, even after 5 times. Sura felt panicked, suspecting he wasn't satisfied with something. Everyone on set was bewildered. Kong, standing outside, started worrying about Sura. His manager nudged him, reminding him it was getting late. He seemed about to say something but stopped himself. Watching Kong leave in disappointment, Sura felt guilty. Meanwhile, Se-Yun-Hyun called the director again, startling Sura. She glanced at him, guessing he wanted to reshoot, but now Sung was smiling brightly, suggesting they call it a day, saying something wasn't right, but it was okay, they should rest. Sura stared at him, unblinking. The director, having gotten his approval, joyfully announced a break to prepare for the next scene. Sura was still in shock, staring intently at the man who was now smiling contentedly. Internally, she screamed, why is he doing this? Why does he want to reshoot over and over again? Sura slammed her hand down on the table, interrogating Sung-Hyun aggressively, are you deliberately requesting multiple reshoots? Sung-Hyun looked at her expressionlessly and simply said, so? Angry, Sura pressed on, are you intentionally asking for multiple reshoots? Kong said you wanted to wait until the end of filming, so you deliberately delayed, right? Se-Yun-Hyun took a sip of tea calmly before asking in return, why are you asking when you already know the reason? Surprised at how easily he admitted it, Sura's face contorted with anger. That's a bit too much, she snapped, her voice trembling with rage. You say I shouldn't doubt you, yet you're overreacting like this. Sung glanced at her and asked, are we similar? Sura immediately exploded, of course not. This time is completely unreasonable. Se-Yun-Hyun calmly placed his glass of water on the table and countered, you say you don't want to argue, yet now you're looking for trouble? Sura sank into her chair and replied, because I don't know how to deal with you. I wasn't going anywhere with Kong, but you didn't believe me and prolonged the scene. He calmly stated, I believe you, but I don't like Kong Lee. What about him? She inquired. Just don't like him, his response was curt. Sura retorted, don't pretend that you're angry with me because of Kong. He's not at fault. At the buffet, I gave up my seat for him. Why did I have to do that? Kong isn't a 2-year-old child. His words shocked her to the core, and she chuckled. Angrily, she remarked, I didn't know you could be so despicable. While you're taking care of your co-star, you're also buying necklaces. Before she could finish, Sung interjected with a dignified tone, Miss Wang Sura, if you don't want to be embarrassed later, you shouldn't provoke me. Sura glanced at him, puzzled by his words. Just as the tension was escalating, an intruder appeared. Song Jina came out of nowhere and disrupted the emotionally charged atmosphere, saying, I found you, Sung-Hyun. Are you with Sura? They immediately separated, and Sura awkwardly laughed, we're rehearsing lines. Jina seemed excited. Oh, then I should join in. By the way, Se-Yun-Hyun, here's a package from the CIA. You can't deny this one. Sura was stunned, not knowing what was happening. Se-Yun-Hyun denied responsibility, stating, it's not related to me. We've already discussed with the company. Keep it. Jina hesitantly responded, is that so? Then I'll say Director Mun bought it. Ultimately, you're the troublemaker. I think we need to do this to clear up any misunderstandings. Sura stood outside, unable to understand their conversation, while Jina appeared concerned. She speculated, maybe his girlfriend misunderstood because of that article. That's why they were arguing, right? Sung-Hyun sighed and denied any misunderstanding, stating that she trusted him. This statement made Sura blush. Just then, their manager came in and reminded Se-Yun-Hyun that the director was looking for him, prompting him to hurriedly follow. As Se-Yun-Hyun disappeared, Sura still couldn't grasp what was happening. She racked her brain to piece everything together, evaluating the situation. It seemed that the necklace was bought by the company, not by Se-Yun-Hyun personally. It was a simple gift to celebrate the 5th anniversary of their debut. So why all the fuss? Seeing Sura's discomfort, Gina inquired with concern, Sura, you don't look well. Are you tired? Sura quickly shook her head. I'm fine. Gina sat down beside her, looking serious. Sura, do you think you saw that article and assumed Seyoon-hyun and I were playing together privately, right? Sura hesitated to respond, waving her hand. No way. Gina breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. Yesterday's comments were all about how you love each other. They said that buying a 5th anniversary necklace means you've been together for a long time. They're not dating, but they still buy each other necklaces. It's strange, isn't it? Furthermore, the two of them get along so well. The comments from netizens left Gina perplexed. She explained to Sura, that's why I cried when I found out about the mess I caused. I was afraid his girlfriend would read it and misunderstand. Gina then remembered and confessed honestly, actually, the truth is. Our senior intended to buy a gift for his girlfriend, but I followed him because I was worried. I thought if he went to buy it alone, there would be rumors about him dating someone else, so I went to help, but in the end, I caused even more trouble. Hesitantly explained, it's quite silly, isn't it? Looking back, if I were you, I wouldn't believe it's an anniversary gift either. I just wanted to know and meet Sung-hyun's girlfriend, but it turned out to be so foolish. Sura regained her composure as Gina added, he even said the necklace would be meaningless if he didn't choose it himself, so he gave it to me. Romantic, isn't it? Finally, Sura managed to piece together all the information. It turned out that everything happened because Seyoon-hyun went to buy a birthday gift for her. Gina, being honest, admitted, I don't know who Sung's girlfriend is, but the way he disregarded everything to get that gift made her very jealous. Sura couldn't help but think back to their meaningless arguments. Was it because he wanted to surprise her for her birthday, so he kept it a secret? While she was lost in thought about possibly hurting her boyfriend, Jin Kyung became quite worried and asked, why aren't you picking up? Sura waved her hand dismissively, I can't. Kyung, now angry, exclaimed, you can't? Really? Sura firmly replied, I can't. While avoiding Jin Kyung's gaze. Her older sister persisted with her phone ringing incessantly, demanding, pick up when you're ready to face him. Wang-soo chimed in, that's right, pick up. Sura stubbornly refused, feeling at a loss for words. Angrily, she retorted, you both know, but you won't tell me anything. Keeping everything a secret like this is a bit too much. Finding it difficult to handle, Jin Kyung awkwardly responded, I'm sorry, Seyoon-hyun is the one directly involved. It's a bit embarrassing, but if he wants it kept from you. Sura, feeling embarrassed, shouted out, then at least tell me a bit. Things wouldn't have turned out like this if you did. Annoyed, Kyung handed her the phone again. Fine, go talk to Seyoon-hyun. Wang-soo further explained to soothe her, I understand how you felt at that moment. It was a difficult situation, and I almost fainted when Seyoon-hyun told me about the company's gift for you. Remembering that day, when Sung-hyun informed me about it in such a calm tone, saying he had no reason to give Gina a gift. This made Wang-soo furious, his face turning purple. Are you insane? Why did you go and buy it then? The company's budget is already running low, and the reporters are throwing stones at us left and right. Wang-soo was fuming with anger and disgust towards Gina and Kang Sung-hyun. Jin Kyung, seeing the situation getting out of hand, hurriedly tried to calm Wang-soo down. Come on, calm down, calm down. In the end, it was Gina's decision to buy it again as a way to promote the film. Seeing the pitiful situation of director Mun, Sura didn't dare to argue. Wang-soo regained his composure, taking a sip of beer and saying, anyway, the misunderstanding has been resolved. Go talk to Seyoon-hyun. Jin Kyung agreed, avoiding it won't help. Sura, feeling contemplative, thought about how the misunderstanding had been resolved. She felt a mix of regret for not trusting him and embarrassment. With all these emotions piling up, she didn't know what to say. After hesitating for a moment, Sura boldly raised her glass and emptied it in front of the skeptical eyes of Jin Kyung and Wang-soo. It felt liberating. Inviting them to join, Sura exclaimed, let's have another round. The two faced each other, unaware of what had just happened to this girl. They decided to put everything aside and enjoyed their time, their emotions gradually returning to a cheerful state after a long while, the bar becoming more crowded as the night went on. Not knowing how long they had been drinking, Sura started rambling. However, as always, Se-Yun-Hyeon spoke only when necessary, so she missed a few words. She waved her hand incoherently, saying that she now understood the misunderstanding was only natural. Sura opened her eyes and looked at the person in front of her, muttering to herself, "No. Why did you do that from the beginning to create a surprise?" She suddenly stiffened as the pupils dilated, realizing that the person sitting across from her was not Kyung and Wang-Soo, but instead a handsome and sophisticated man in a black suit, Sung-Hyeon. He was looking at her intently with a serious expression. At that moment, the chatter in the bar started to rise as people passing by recognized Kang Se-Yun-Hyeon, right? Isn't that him? What's going on? The two main characters sat facing each other like statues. Sura laughed, thinking she was already drunk. She shook her head, murmuring to herself, "I thought my senior was here, or am I dreaming?" Sung-Hyeon spoke up, assuring her that she wasn't dreaming or mistaken. Sura stopped moving, her face turning red from the alcohol, as she looked at the person opposite her. "How long are you planning to surprise me?" she asked. Se-Yun-Hyeon looked at her and exclaimed, "You're so brave, making me come here." Sura couldn't utter a word, just thinking to herself that she couldn't be caught like this. The sparkling lights in the restaurant illuminated the atmosphere, which gradually became lively. Everyone around couldn't help but gossip about the male lead, and Sura was no exception. She felt embarrassed as she glanced at the man in front of her, then quickly pursed her lips and scolded him for not wearing a hat. Sung-Hyeon calmly responded, "Do you think wearing a suit and a hat would look good?" The female lead continued to scold him, "Would that be a problem? People have already recognized you." Sung-Hyeon retorted, "Then who is the one avoiding phone calls? If there are any rumors, it's not my fault." Hearing these words, Sura paused for a moment. She became bewildered by the thought of rumors. At that moment, the male lead also pressed the button to call the staff over. The man rushed to Sung-Hyeon and cheerfully said, "Oh my god, welcome, Se-Yun-Hyeon." The female lead beside him was taken from one surprise to another. She exclaimed, "Why did you press it so quickly?" The male lead, uninterested, turned to ask the staff, "Do you have any rooms on the second floor? About 15 more people will be coming." Of course, the staff member replied. At that moment, a voice rang out, "Oh, here, we came to the right place." A group of people swarmed in, chatting naturally with each other. Sura and the staff member were left gaping in surprise. The female lead hesitantly asked, "That? Yeah, so I am the one who suddenly showed up here without any planning?" Sung responded, taking a sip of water as he spoke. A woman suddenly burst out in anger. "Your planning was to call these people over?" The male lead calmly replied, "Yeah, why not?" He emphasized again, "Yeah, why not?" Hearing this, Sura stood frozen in place. From a state of agitation, she became shy. Finally, she slowly said, "You should have said." At this point, Sung softly asked, "You knew, right?" Moments later, under the glittering lights of the city streets, Sura and Sung got into the car to head back. At this moment, the female lead cautiously asked, "Is it okay for the host to leave the party early?" The male lead, while focusing on driving, simply replied, "I came to pick you up. Do you want to stay for the party?" I gave them the card, I've done everything I could. Why didn't you answer the phone? Sura felt a bit confused hearing this. She gently fiddled with her hands, then sincerely admitted, "I didn't know what to say. I've thought a lot, but I don't know what I want." Se-Yun-Hyeon gently asked, "What is it? Tell me, and you'll know." At that moment, they had to stop for a red light. The female lead mustered up all her courage and said, "So why didn't you tell me earlier so we wouldn't have to fight?" "If you had told me sooner, I wouldn't have been hurt," she said hesitantly. Se-Yun-Hyeon gently asked, "What is it? Tell me, and you'll know." At that moment, they had to stop for a red light. The female lead mustered up all her courage and said, "So why didn't you tell me earlier so we wouldn't have to fight?" "If you had told me sooner, I wouldn't have been hurt," she said hesitantly. "I'm not finished yet." You didn't listen to me and went off with Kong Lee. Sura immediately denied, I really didn't think about it. Finally, she extended her hand forward and said, anyway, it's over now. What's this? The male lead gently asked. Sura replied, a handshake for reconciliation. After all, it was both our faults, so let's make peace. Sung sighed with relief at her words. He remarked, really? Seeing her usually cold boyfriend, Sura awkwardly justified, isn't it also your fault? Adults should at least extend their hand for a shake. If you pretend to hold. She hadn't finished her sentence when the hand next to hers gently touched her slender fingers. At first, their hands just made contact, but gradually their fingers intertwined. Sung Hyun softly said, I'm sorry for letting you misunderstand. At that moment, Sura was overwhelmed by emotions. The male lead also turned to gaze lovingly at the woman he adored. They held hands tightly, never letting go, while the car was filled with their cheerful laughter all the way home. Finally, the car stopped in front of the tall apartment building. Sung Hyun carefully advised, take care going in. Sura sincerely replied, thank you for bringing me home. Just as she was about to step out of the car, she suddenly asked, would it be okay if you came inside for a bit? In her heart, she thought it would be such a shame to let him leave like this. She added, for a coffee or... Sung, upon hearing this, looked at Sura in surprise. She eagerly awaited his response, while the main male lead's eyes were filled with admiration as he gazed intently at the woman before him. Then he leaned back in his seat, silent. Thinking he might want to decline, the girl said it was okay if he didn't want to. Sung Hyun then sighed softly, do you know how to invite me into the house this time? Hearing these words, the female lead suddenly became bewildered as she tried to reassess the situation. She felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment, not yet able to react, when Sung swiftly stepped out of the car, opening the door. Sura continued to explain, no, I just felt regretful letting you go like that, so. But she was interrupted by Sung Hyun, who approached and opened the car door for her. At that moment, she asked him softly, what are you doing? Meanwhile, the male lead politely urged her to get out of the car. At that moment, in another corner of the street, a man, casually smoking a cigarette, began to curse vehemently, damn that Wang Sura. Why hasn't she returned yet? She's probably drunk somewhere. And the whole affair with Kong Sung Hyun has fallen apart, and now this news article. Just then, a speeding car caught the attention of a curious passerby. How come there's a BMW in this rundown neighborhood? Chong-gu couldn't resist his curiosity and immediately stepped closer to get a better look at the car, which suddenly came to a stop, its door slowly opening. The man in front was astonished, wondering, Kong Sung Hyun? Why is Kong Sung Hyun here? Didn't he break up with Wang Sura? Oh, maybe he came to say a final goodbye. Anyway, with Sura's personality, she wouldn't date someone who was already engaged. Just as he finished speaking, Chong-gu was hit with the sight of Se-yun Hyun gently helping Sura out of the car. The couple looked at each other lovingly, appearing perfectly matched. However, this scene left Chong-gu frozen. He quietly watched the two of them laughing and talking happily. At that moment, a voice echoed in his head, Chong-gu, Chong-gu. The clear voice made the young man pause a bit. Because of that, sweet memories came rushing into his mind, making him recall the moments when Sura was very happy being with him. At that moment, a phone rang at the drinking table. The man hurriedly stood up and said, I'll go take this call. His two friends looked annoyed and said, why is it Kim Chong-gu again? Hey, don't answer it. Because of that stupid actor, it's been so long since we've hung out, hasn't it? Minho ignored their advice and picked up the phone, yes, Chong-gu? On the other end, Chong-gu, sitting in his car, snapped, where are you? Come drink with me. Minho politely refused, sorry, I'm out with friends right now, so I can't make it. Chong-gu suddenly got angry, so you're saying your friends are more important than me? The man patiently explained, give me a break today, okay? It's been a long time since we've seen each other since my friend's funeral. These friends have been with me since childhood. Before he could finish his sentence, Chong-gu interrupted, you're talking too much. Who gives you money to buy alcohol, huh? What's wrong with you? Stop grumbling and come over right now. Even Minho was shocked that his beloved younger brother could say such things. Faced with this rude attitude, he didn't hold back and directly scolded, "You bastard, am I your servant?" Chonggu, not believing his ears, asked again, "What did you say?" Minho finally vented all the pent-up feelings in his heart. "I work for someone like you just to make a living. You make me so ashamed that I can't even hold my head up." Chonggu, surprised, shouted, "Are you crazy?" Minho calmly replied, "Yeah, I'm crazy. Otherwise, why would I bow down to a bastard like you to survive?" The other end of the line sighed. Minho continued, "And by the way, I know you're looking for Sura, right? Stop bullying the girl and treat your wife well, live a good life. Before you're called a bastard, being a useless person pretending to be hardworking." Chonggu couldn't shake off his anger, only gritting his teeth as he spoke. At a luxurious mansion, Miang sat on the couch, calling her husband. After waiting for a moment, someone finally answered, and a voice on the other end said, "Hello?" Miang, worried, asked, "Chonggu, where are you? I know you don't have any plans today. Why haven't you come home yet? And lately, what have you been doing? I don't understand what you're thinking." Suddenly, Chonggu interrupted, "You're talking too much, what is it?" Miang quietly asked, "Chonggu, why are you?" At this point, Chonggu's frustration boiled over. "I told you, you're being annoyingly loud, damn it." At the same time, Sura was startled by the noise of the electric kettle. Se-Yun-hien looked at the girl who had moved to the side and asked, "Why are you so surprised?" The heroine could only give a wry smile and said, "Because I was concentrating." "Why are you so serious?" "It's just making some coffee," the hero said. Sura immediately retorted, "Don't underestimate it, you have to make it correctly for it to be delicious." Se-Yun-hien, hearing this, went along with her, "All right, I know. I'm waiting to drink it." The woman turned her back to Se-Yun-hien, her heart now feeling like it would leap out of her chest. "I'm so happy I could die." She recalled the saying, "Do you know what a guy thinks when his girlfriend invites him up to her place?" Sung-hien admired the photo on the table and exclaimed, "You look like your mother." "Really?" the female lead asked in surprise. When she turned around, she saw the male lead holding a family photo. She laughed and said, "When I was little, everyone said I looked like both, but as I grew up, I resembled my mother more." "Are your parents in the countryside?" Sung-hien suddenly asked. Sura calmly replied, "No, they passed away when I was still in high school." The male lead froze upon hearing this, then softly said, "I see." Sura, seeing Sung intently looking at her family photo, felt a strange emotion. She thought, in the past, no matter how long it had been, I would always feel sad when talking about my parents. But seeing that cold expression from him, strangely, made me feel more at ease. The female lead recalled the sweet words of her ex-boyfriend and thought, compared to those empty promises that never materialized, Sung-hien's gaze means much more than words. Now, he doesn't say the necessary words anymore, just mumbles. Thinking this, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. "What's going on?" Sura simply replied, "Nothing. I just stopped worrying suddenly." The male lead, hearing this, gently asked, "You were worried?" The girl stammered, No, because you said some strange things, so I got like that." "Said what?" Sung-hien asked seriously. Sura turned away to pour water, shyly saying, "The things you said in the car. Anyway, really." Suddenly, the male lead moved closer, leaning in and seductively whispering, "So what were those words?" The female lead turned to stare at him, then exclaimed, "You're really naughty." Sung-hien gave a sly smile. Seeing him keep smiling made Sura flustered, and she softly said, "Well, Kong Se-Yun-hien." Seeing that the male lead didn't quite hear her, she repeated, "Well, Kong Se-Yun-hien." At that moment, Sung-hien gave her an unexpected kiss to seal the lips of his innocent girl. The love-struck man looked at his girlfriend who was staring wide-eyed. Just as Sung was about to repeat what he did, Sura suddenly interrupted. She quickly explained, "We didn't come here because I wanted to do similar things with you, from the start." The male lead gently replied, "Really? I know, I came because I wanted to clarify things like this." Sura, subdued by his charm and elegance, surrendered to the moment, and the two shared a long, sweet kiss. They were lost in the lingering sweetness of love. clinging to each other endlessly. Their eyes were filled with happiness. Then, Sung gently kissed down the girl's neck, feeling a tropical wave gently sweeping through her body. Sura couldn't help but feel an unprecedented emotion, the girl's heart racing. Finally, unable to help herself, she let out a cry as their lips parted temporarily. The two looked at each other inseparably. At this time, Sura gently asked him if he needed to wait. She looked directly into the opponent's eyes as if looking for answers, and then she reached forward, gently buttoning Sung Hyun's shirt. The boy looked at the girl in front of him in amazement. At this time, the heroine looked up at the man with the enchanting beauty who was still watching her. Just then the guy boldly pulled Sura into his arms. He leaned over and kissed the soft lips of the girl he loved. The two of them went on a sex show. Just as you imagine. Very intense. The next morning when the sun had come out, there was a sizzling sound of grease in the kitchen mixed with the aroma of freshly baked bread, and the sunlight by the window inadvertently cast on the shadow of Se-Hyun preparing breakfast. The man realized something. He turned and smiled and said to Sura, "Wake up." The heroine in bed is still dreaming about what is happening. After reshaping, the girl couldn't help but exclaim, "Unbelievable." Se-Hyun quickly brought the tray of food in front of Sura, and he said softly, "It's okay, I make it from ingredients available at home." The girl now gratefully said thank you. She silently exclaimed a sentence, "The first time I ate breakfast in the bed." She took the food and gently asked, "Senior, aren't you eating?" The guy replied that he had to leave immediately, as he had to return the car to Wangsu first. "I know," she replied. Her heart felt incredibly complicated at this moment. He's leaving again. This dreamy time doesn't last long. It's already great that he's been with me until now. She comforted herself silently. While eating, there was another letter. The girl held it up and asked, "What letter is this?" "It's too much for just a birthday." Sung replied, and upon hearing it, Sura couldn't help but feel excited. However, the main guy, standing aside, coldly said, "Open it." The girl immediately opened the letter and was stunned by its contents. She hesitated for a moment before handing the plane ticket to Bangkok to Se-Hyun, as if wanting him to confirm everything. The man, feeling excited, suggested, "Let's go out and have fun, just the two of us."